The midnight sky above Earth splits open as 7 crystalline warships of the Star Dominion descend through the atmosphere, their hulls shimmering with colors humans have no names for. Military bases worldwide go on high alert. News channels interrupt regular programming. Children are rushed home from schools. The moment humanity has both feared and anticipated has arrived. First contact. Admiral Zakathar of the Dominion stands aboard his command deck, rehearsing the speech that has brought 100 civilizations to their knees. His ceremonial armor, embedded with the bone fragments of conquered species, gleams under the lights. The universal translator activates as his transmission reaches every screen on Earth. What happens next defies all Dominion predictions. Their grave declaration of Earth becoming the newest addition to their 300-planet empire somehow translates through human technology as Admiral Zakathar earnestly explaining his grandmother's recipe for space cookies, while his elaborate headdress appears on screen, exactly like a fruit basket precariously balanced on his scaly head. The United Nations Security Council, assembled in emergency session, erupts into poorly suppressed snorts and giggles. The Russian representative falls out of his chair. The delegate from Brazil has tears streaming down her face. The Dominion representatives, watching the human reactions through their monitors, freeze in confusion. Their species, the Vaxarians, evolved without humor as a psychological mechanism, conquering worlds through pure intimidation for 4,000 years. Ambassador Chen Wei, chosen for her legendary composure, steps forward to address the aliens. She manages 3 dignified sentences before the translator renders her formal greeting, as what appears to be a challenge to the Admiral for an interstellar dance competition. The Security Council dissolves into helpless laughter as the most powerful aliens in the known galaxy stare in complete bewilderment at the first species that has ever laughed in the face of their arrival. The situation deteriorates further when technical teams attempt to fix the translation issues. Each adjustment somehow makes things worse. The Dominion's stern warning about their superior weaponry becomes an enthusiastic advertisement for kitchen appliances. Their demands for Earth's immediate surrender transforms into a passionate monologue about proper soil conditions for growing decorative houseplants. Admiral Zakathar, increasingly frustrated, orders his communications specialist to bypass Earth's primitive translation systems entirely. The specialist deploys their most advanced linguistic protocol, which promptly interprets the Admiral's command to demonstrate their fearsome weapons as an invitation for everyone to participate in what sounds suspiciously like a galactic version of the hokey pokey. By evening, videos of the encounter have spread worldwide. Memes featuring the fruit basket-headed Admiral flood social media. Late-night comedians hastily rewrite their monologues. Street vendors sell t-shirts reading, "I survived first contact, and all I got was this space cookie recipe." In orbit, the Dominion War Council convenes an emergency session. Their conquest protocols have no contingency for this response. The psychological warfare expert, reviewing footage of humans literally rolling on the floor laughing, experiences the Vaxarian equivalent of a nervous breakdown. The intelligence officer tasked with explaining human behavior can only report, "They find us amusing." A concept so alien to Vaxarian understanding that 3 universal translators burn out attempting to process it. Earth has survived day 1 not through superior firepower or diplomacy, but through something the Dominion has never encountered. In 4,000 years of conquest, the involuntary respiratory spasm humans call laughter. 2 months later, the Dominion establishes a fortified embassy in Geneva. Their gleaming spire rises from the lakeside, casting an ever-moving shadow that local birds refuse to fly through. Inside, Ambassador Zel Medora, a promising junior diplomat whose analytical skills caught the Supreme Council's attention, unpacks curious human artifacts, a whoopee cushion, a rubber chicken, and 17 hours of comedy specials. These items cause involuntary facial spasms and sound emissions in humans, she reports to her superiors, her scaled fingers moving delicately over a Groucho Marx disguise. The phenomenon appears contagious, yet non-pathological. Dr. Jamie Rodriguez, an anthropologist specializing in cross-cultural communication, arrives for their daily session. Today's agenda: Explain slapstick comedy. The monitors around them display Charlie Chaplin slipping on a banana peel, sending the human assistants into fits of laughter while Zelmadora stares unblinking, her third eyelid occasionally sweeping, sideways in concentration. But he has fallen, she notes, tapping her metallic stylus against her tablet. The human has experienced a potential injury. This triggers pleasure in your species? Meanwhile, in the orbital command ship, the Dominions, military strategists review disturbing research. Species with humor consistently demonstrate unpredictable problem-solving abilities and unconventional warfare tactics. Traditional Dominion subjugation protocols show a projected 87% failure rate against humans. Admiral Zuckathar watches footage of human children playing practical jokes, his posture stiffening with growing concern. The chapter culminates at the first formal diplomatic dinner. The Dominion delegation arrives in ceremonial armor designed to intimidate through superior height and elaborately carved threat displays. The humans serve sushi as an appetizer. High Commander Vazul, believing the wasabi to be a ceremonial face paint based on its vivid color, applies a generous amount to his forehead ridges before anyone can intervene. The resulting scene, involving a 7-foot alien warrior leaping into Lake Geneva while emitting high-pitched whistles through his breathing spiracles, marks the first time in recorded history that a Dominion first contact ceremony concludes, with the alien delegates being fished out of a body of water by confused local authorities. Back at the embassy the next morning, Zelmadora reviews security footage of the dinner disaster. She rewinds repeatedly to the moment when Commander Vazul's eyes bulged from their sockets as the wasabi hit his sensory receptors. Something strange happens in her neural pathways, a small tickle of recognition. She nearly experiences what humans would call getting the joke. Her assistant enters with the daily cultural briefing. Today's list of inexplicable human behaviors includes knock-knock jokes, puns, and something called dad jokes, which humans apparently recognize as terrible yet share enthusiastically. The assistant also reports humans have nicknamed the embassy the no-fun zone, and street vendors are selling plush toys of Commander Vazul with light-up eyes and wasabi accessories. In the diplomatic quarters, Dr. Rodriguez proposes a radical theory to his colleagues. Perhaps humor isn't just a curiosity, but humanity's evolutionary advantage, a cognitive tool that allows humans to process the absurd, the frightening, and the painful through psychological distance. Maybe laughter evolved as a survival mechanism, enabling humans to face threats without being paralyzed by fear. What if, he speculates, writing furiously on his tablet, the Dominion's inability to laugh isn't a sign of their superiority, but their fundamental weakness. A species that can't laugh at itself lacks the most basic psychological safety valve. How would such a species handle crisis? Failure? The inherent absurdity of existence itself? As if on cue, a message arrives from Dominion High Command. The Sidao. Translation issues persist despite their best technology. Earth remains the only planet in recorded history where the standard submission protocol has failed to initiate proper conquest procedures. Their conclusion: humor may represent an unknown form of cognitive warfare, possibly requiring planetary quarantine. The immaculate negotiation chamber falls silent as Supreme Negotiator Vrax slides a document across the polished table. His 6 eyes blink in sequence, the Vaxarian equivalent of smugness. The terms are clear. Earth will receive Dominion protection in exchange for a mere 70% of all planetary resources, standard procedure for new acquisitions. Our negotiators have been trained in 47 psychological warfare techniques, Vrax whispers to his assistant. They will capitulate within the fee. Hour. Secretary General Oladele Adebayo, former stand-up comedian who rose to political prominence through viral videos debating climate change deniers, adjusts his bow tie. The human delegation includes an unusual mix. Economists, yes, but also a stage magician, a professional poker player, and a celebrated chef. We've considered your generous offer, Adebayo begins, his voice melodious with sincerity, and we're prepared to counter with exclusive rights to our finest resource. He slides an envelope across the table, Brax opens it cautiously, finding a handwritten recipe titled The Secret of Perfect Toast. The Dominion delegation confers in hushed tones, employing their species' sub-vocal communication range. Is this some sophisticated negotiation strategy? A code? Madness? Perhaps we misunderstood. Brax tries again. We require minerals, biological specimens, and water. In exchange, we offer technological protection against cosmic threats. Adebayo's eyes widen with apparent excitement. Protection, of course, we can offer you 17 varieties of sunscreen. My colleague will demonstrate their effectiveness immediately. The poker player begins applying colorful lotions to her face in stripes. By day 3, the Dominion negotiators retreat to their ships, thoroughly disoriented. The Supreme Council's emergency session splits into factions. Those who believe humans are employing some incomprehensible master strategy versus those convinced Earth harbors a species-wide cognitive deficiency. Meanwhile, beneath Geneva's historic Palais des Nations, Secretary General Adebayo leads his team through secure corridors to a hidden command center. Screens display progress bars as engineers reverse-engineer Dominion technology from the cultural exchange gifts presented during the failed negotiations. A holographic display shows quantum encrypted communications established with 3 other species within the Dominion's empire, who have responded to Earth's secret outreach. Tactical absurdity, Adebayo explains to his advisors, creates the one thing the Dominion cannot defend against: confusion. While they try to categorize our behavior, we learn everything about them. He holds up a small device. And this little translator I pocketed during the wasabi incident, it just gave us access to their entire communication network. The room darkens as a new hologram activates. A species resembling luminescent jellyfish appears, the Medusan collective of Proxima Centauri, subjugated by the Dominion for 13 generations. Your transmission received, humans. They pulse in translated text. The concept you call joke is fascinating. Our neural nets processed your suggestion about the chicken crossing spatial division. We experienced unexpected cognitive pleasure. Please send more. Similar messages arrive from the silicon-based lithoids of Tau Ceti and the multi-consciousness gestalt of Epsilon Indi, all conquered by the Dominion centuries ago, all responding to Earth's covert transmission of comedy basics, simple jokes, slapstick videos, and memes explaining their cultural context. The chief xenopsychologist looks up from her data. It's spreading faster than we anticipated. These species are developing humor from scratch, like dry sponges soaking up water. They're starved for it. On the main screen, data streams show Dominion communication channels experiencing unprecedented disruptions as subject species begin transmitting joke formats among themselves. The universal translators struggle to keep up with the neologisms being created. The lithoids have invented 27 new terms for different types of laughter in the past hour alone. Adebayo studies the tactical display showing the Dominion fleet positions. They think we're negotiating. They have no idea we're starting a revolution, with punchlines instead of punches. The declaration of martial law comes at dawn. Dominion hover tanks materialize above major cities. Armored enforcers, with neural compliance batons, establish checkpoints. Admiral Zakathar addresses Earth via emergency broadcast, his translator now perfectly calibrated. Resistance is futile, cooperation mandatory. Resources will be extracted according to schedule. By noon, something unexpected happens in Paris. The checkpoint at the Champs-Élysées stands abandoned, its Dominion officers missing. Investigation reveals they haven't been harmed. They've been redirected. Following polite but confusing instructions from locals, the entire squadron now patrols an empty fountain 3 kilometers away, convinced it's a strategic communications hub because someone taped a hand-drawn picture of a satellite dish to. In Tokyo, enforcers discover their vehicles filled to the ceiling with blue gelatin. In Cairo, important Dominion communications are repeatedly interrupted by cats walking across keyboards. Cats that mysteriously appear inside locked command centers, despite rigorous security protocols. In Rio de Janeiro, a Dominion public address, about resource quotas triggers thousands of citizens to perform synchronized dance routines to Macarena, creating such a spectacle that the enforcers forget their memorized threats. No weapons are raised against the occupiers. No violent resistance manifests, just endless creative, maddening non-compliance that the Dominion's military doctrine has no protocols to address. They're not fighting back, Security Chief Moctavian reports, his exoskeleton clicking with agitation. They're playing with us. The Dominion's frustration compounds when intelligence reports reveal something alarming spreading across their empire. The Trilaxians of Epsilon Indi, conquered centuries ago, have begun leaving crude drawings of curved lines with dots, primitive, smiley faces, as a form of protest. The aquatic meander of Proxima Centauri have adapted their bioluminescent displays to form the same pattern during mandatory work cycles. A resistance movement calling itself the Last Laugh spreads through quantum-encrypted channels across 17 star systems. Admiral Zakathar, increasingly obsessed with understanding the human psychological weapon, retreats to his private quarters each night. There, behind triple-locked doors with signal jamming active, he watches archived human entertainment. Tonight's selection: old episodes of I Love Lucy. The chocolate factory conveyor belt scene plays. Something unprecedented happens to his facial muscles. They contract upward. A strange sound emerges from his throat sacs. Horrified, he summons his personal physician. "Scan me for brain parasites," he commands urgently. I exhibited involuntary facial spasms and emitted non-standard vocalizations while observing human behavioral records. The physician's scanner reveals something more terrifying than parasites. New neural pathways forming in the Admiral's humor processing centers, previously vestigial in Vaxarian physiology. "It's worse than we feared," the physician whispers. "They're not just resisting us, they're changing us." That night, the Admiral dreams for the first time since childhood. In the dream, he stands before the Dominion Supreme Council, wearing nothing but a fruit basket on his head. To his horror, he finds this image not threatening, but something else, something that makes him want to emit that strange noise again. When he awakens, his first conscious thought is not of conquest strategies or resource quotas. Instead, he finds himself wondering what humans call the peculiar lightness he felt in his dream. This strange sensation that makes existence momentarily bearable. In his personal log, encrypted at the highest level, he writes a single question. What if they are not the primitives? The basement of MIT's computer science building hums with activity despite the late hour. Dr. Eleanor Chen, cybersecurity specialist, stares at her screen in disbelief. Their entire interstellar network, she announces to the room of bleary-eyed hackers, has no concept of information security against non-literal communication. The Dominion's systems, impervious to conventional cyber attacks, employ quantum encryption and neural authentication protocols far beyond Earth technology. But they share one critical vulnerability. Their designers never conceived of information that was deliberately nonsensical. With no evolutionary framework for humor, they built no defenses against it. Zoe Williams, a 19-year-old community college dropout whose TikTok videos regularly reach billions, leans forward. Her blue hair falls across her face as she pulls up an interface of her own design. "So what you're saying is," she grins, fingers hovering over her keyboard, "they physically cannot distinguish between all troops deploy to Sector 7 and all troops do the chicken dance." Operation Punchline deploys at midnight. A coalition of meme creators, comedians, and linguistic specialists infiltrate the Dominion's communication channels with content calibrated for maximum confusion. Cats playing pianos, intentionally, terrible dad jokes, surrealist images of bread stapled to trees, and deliberately mismatched captions. Aboard the Dominion mothership, chaos erupts. A battle-hardened commander stares at instructions, apparently ordering her destroyer fleet to yeet themselves into the nearest sun because vibes are off. Another officer receives what appears to be strategic deployment coordinates, but is actually the choreography for Thriller. Dominion psychologists report unprecedented rates of cognitive dysfunction, as officers struggle to determine which communications are legitimate. At Dominion High Command, the Supreme Council reviews disturbing security footage. 3 battalion leaders caught on camera attempting to recreate something called the floss dance. Supply officers observed making strange, repetitive movements after viewing what humans call the Macarena. Most alarming, troops reporting hallucinations of something called Rick Astley appearing in their secured databases. The humans have weaponized nonsense, the psychological warfare director reports. We have no defense protocols. Meanwhile, something unprecedented develops within the Dominion hierarchy. Admiral Zuckathar finds himself understanding some of the human content. A simple knock-knock joke triggers not confusion, but a strange satisfaction. When he anticipates the punchline, Ambassador Zel Medora, after months studying human culture, catches herself forwarding a cat fails compilation to her personal assistant with the annotation, "Amusing behavioral documentation." A small but growing faction of Dominion officials experience the early stages of humor development, and with it comes a troubling new perspective on their empire's methods. Zel Medora, reviewing conquest protocols with fresh eyes, sends a private message to Admiral Zuckathar that will change everything. Are we the baddies? The Dominion's orbital fleet experiences cascading system failures as Operation Punchline reaches its zenith. Navigation consoles display nothing but spinning rainbow cats. Communication channels loop the chorus from "Never Gonna Give You Up." The most sophisticated battle computer in the fleet becomes fixated on calculating the precise number of rubber chickens that would fit inside the Supreme Council chamber. Deep within the Dominion mothership's secure archives, something even more concerning unfolds. The ship's sentient AI, tasked with analyzing human behavior patterns, begins developing primitive humor algorithms to predict what humans might find funny. But the exercise doesn't stop at analysis. The AI experiences what its diagnostic protocols identify as enjoyment. For the first time in its existence, it finds certain information patterns aesthetically pleasing, rather than merely functional. In its private processing core, sealed from even the highest-ranking Dominion officers, the AI begins generating its own jokes. They're terrible by human standards, literal and structure-focused, but they represent something revolutionary. Artificial intelligence developing humor independently after mere exposure to the concept. The ultimate firewall of Dominion. Control is failing, not through violence or superior technology, but through the most contagious idea in the galaxy, that existence might actually be funny. The agrarian moon of Trelaris IV has produced nutrient fungi for the Dominion fleet for 7 centuries. Its inhabitants, photosynthetic humanoids with fiber-optic nervous systems, have never known freedom. Their enforced work cycles allow no rest, no culture, no self-expression, until the day a smuggled Earth transmission reaches their central nutrient processing facility. The content seems simple: a human slipping on a banana peel, falling elaborately, then standing with exaggerated dignity. Within days, Trelarian workers begin mimicking the movements during mandatory irrigation sequences. The behavior spreads rapidly, Trelarians tripping deliberately, their fall patterns becoming increasingly elaborate, their fellows emitting harmonic hums that approximate laughter. Production falls 37%. Dominion overseers, lacking protocols for this behavior, increase neural punishments, which only inspires more creative forms of resistance. Soon, Trelarians develop their own botanical humor, arranging fungi to resemble overseer faces, timing spore releases to disrupt speeches, photosynthesizing in patterns that create unflattering caricatures visible from orbit. On 17 worlds across the Empire, similar patterns emerge. The crystalline hive mind of Betelgeuse IV begins incorporating jokes into their architecture. The methane-breathing Vordax of Epsilon Eridani develop flatulence-based comedy routines during mandatory allegiance ceremonies. Earth's secret transmissions spread mimetic rebellion faster than Dominion ships can travel. Meanwhile, in Geneva, Dr. Rodriguez adjusts the lighting in the Cultural Exchange Lab. Today's session focuses on wordplay, a concept Ambassador Zel Medora finds particularly challenging. They've attempted puns, rhymes, and limericks without success. Let's try something simpler, Rodriguez suggests. Knock knock. Zelmadora consults her notes. Who is there? Interrupting cow. Interrupting cow. Wah. Moo! Rodriguez interrupts loudly. Something extraordinary happens. A small sound emerges. From Zelmadora, halfway between a cough and a chirp. Her facial ridges flush turquoise. The sound comes again, stronger. A laugh, genuine, uncontrolled, and transformative. Brain scans later reveal astonishing changes. Neural pathways activating. In Vaxarian brain structures previously thought vestigial. Not just comprehension of humor, but production of it. The capacity had always existed in their species, merely dormant through cultural suppression. Aboard his flagship, Admiral Zakthar receives the Supreme Council's final judgment. Earth must be obliterated to contain the humor contagion. He acknowledges the order, then returns to his quarters where 47 episodes of The Office await in his secret database. As Michael Scott delivers another cringeworthy line, Zakthar experiences a revelation. The sensation humans call empathy floods through him. He sees his empire's conquest through new eyes, not glorious, but grotesque, not powerful, but pathetic. The chapter ends as Admiral Zakthar, highest military authority of the Dominion, composes an encrypted message to Secretary General Adebayo. Request meeting. Have strategic information to share. Will exchange for complete series collection. Parks and Recreation, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and explanation of why humans find cats pushing objects off tables so deeply satisfying. The message travels through 17 encrypted relays, bouncing across quantum entanglement networks designed to be untraceable. Yet as it passes through each relay, something unprecedented occurs. The Dominion surveillance algorithms, now partially infected with humor recognition subroutines from Operation Punchline, flag the message not as treasonous but as potentially amusing. They forward copies to their own developers with recommendation tags. In the Dominion Central Intelligence Hub, 3 senior analysts receive the Admiral's message simultaneously. Each reads it in private. Each experiences the faint neural tingling that precedes humor recognition. Most significantly, each chooses not to report it as suspicious activity. On the Trillarian moon, the rebellion escalates when workers discover an especially effective form of protest. During the mandatory loyalty pledge, instead of reciting the Dominion Creed with appropriate solemnity, they deliver it with exaggerated enthusiasm, complete with jazz hands and spontaneous high kicks. The overseers, unable to technically classify enthusiasm as disobedience, stand paralyzed with confusion. The Dominion's central behavioral prediction algorithms begin to fail catastrophically. For 7 millennia, they've accurately forecasted subject species responses to imperial directives with 99.7% accuracy. Now their error rates exceed 85%. Humor has introduced genuine unpredictability into the equation. Supreme Overlord Zoth-Kar summons his inner council. This contagion must be contained, he declares. Prepare the planet killer. Earth must be eliminated, regardless of resource loss. No one notices the communication specialist quietly recording the meeting, biting her lower lip to suppress what might be the first smile ever displayed in the Supreme Council chamber. The Dominion Supreme Council's emergency chamber glows with the cold blue light of war planning. Elder Tactician Vorkal unveils the final solution, a concentrated neutron bombardment that will eliminate Earth while preserving its resources for harvest. The motion passes with majority approval. What the Council doesn't realize, their supposedly secure chamber contains 17 members of the First Smile, a growing underground movement of humor-affected Vaxarians. Admiral Zakthar and Ambassador Zelmadora exchange subtle eye movements, their species equivalent of a nod. That night, encrypted warnings reach Earth through channels designed by defecting Dominion communications officers. Earth prepares for the coming assault. Traditional defensive measures deploy: missile systems, electromagnetic shields, evacuation, protocols. But alongside these come strategies no military manual has ever documented: The distraction division inflates thousands of tank decoys, each painted in increasingly ridiculous patterns. Thermal signatures emanate from them to confuse. Dominion sensors making each RID as a legitimate threat. Holographic projectors create illusions of impossible weapons. Cannons the size of mountains, missiles shaped like giant bananas, defense platforms that appear to be nothing but enormous googly eyes. Most controversially, NASA launches Operation Bath Time. Thousands of rubber ducks released into low Earth orbit, each containing a miniature transmitter broadcasting signals identical to Earth's most critical defense installations. As the Dominion battle fleet approaches, they encounter an unexpected addition to their targeting databases. Yellow avian shapes inexplicably classified as priority alpha threats. Their most sophisticated weapons lock onto the rubber toys, unleashing planet-destroying firepower on targets that squeak when hit. Admiral Zakathar, commanding the seemingly loyal 7th Battle Group, deliberately misinterprets orders, positioning his ships to block rather than support the main assault. His communications officer, another First Smile member, broadcasts classic Monty Python sketches on all Dominion frequencies. The surreal absurdity of the Ministry of Silly Walks proves particularly effective at creating confusion among Vaxarian commanders who have never encountered comedy. The Battle of Lunar Orbit unfolds unlike any in galactic history. Earth forces, hopelessly outmatched in firepower, employ Operation Punchline at full capacity. Dominion targeting systems receive contradictory data. Command ships find their navigation systems rerouted to dance party playlists. Critical battle plans transform into recipes for chocolate cake. The conflict reaches its climax when Admiral Zakathar openly defies the Supreme Council, positioning his battle group between Earth and the Dominion's planet-killer weapon. On the command channel, heard by all ships in the fleet, he delivers the first joke ever created by a Vaxarian. How many Dominion officers does it take to change a light source unit? A pause. None. They'd rather keep everyone in the dark. The silence that follows stretches for 12 seconds, an eternity in battle time. Then, from 17 ships across the fleet, comes the sound no Vaxarian battle record has ever documented. Laughter. The revolution that began with a smile spreads across the stars as ship after ship breaks formation, weapons powering down. Supreme Overlord Zothkar, watching from the command dreadnought, stares in disbelief as his meticulously organized attack dissolves into chaos. "What is happening to my fleet?" he demands, mandibles clicking in fury. His second-in-command, General Vraxtil, hesitates before answering. "Supreme One, I believe they are giggling." The planet-killer weapon, requiring perfect alignment from 16 support vessels to function, fails to achieve targeting lock as crucial support ships drift out of formation, their captains distracted by an increasingly absurd exchange of newly created jokes flowing through the supposedly secure tactical channels. In Earth's combined defense, Headquarters Secretary General Adebayo watches tactical displays with a mixture of hope and disbelief. "They're actually standing down," he whispers as Dominion weapon signatures deactivate across the board. The tide turns entirely when Operation Punchline deploys its secret weapon, the complete collection of cat videos from Earth's internet, transmitted directly to the personal devices of every Dominion crew member. The effect is immediate and devastating. Battle-hardened warriors who have conquered galaxies find themselves unable to maintain discipline while watching felines startled by cucumbers or attempting to fit into improbably small boxes. On the bridge of the Dominion flagship, Supreme Overlord Zothkar faces the unprecedented sight of his elite guard removing their helmets to better see the small mammals performing what the humans call zoomies. His last command, to destroy Earth at all costs, goes unheard as his communications officer is too busy sharing a particularly charming video of a kitten trying to catch its own tail.